y'all. I am making this video for my son because I sent him a Gaiwan for Christmas and I want to show him how to use it. I thought I would throw it out there to share with anybody else interested in learning about a Gaiwan. Anyway, this was my first Gaiwan. I absolutely love it. You see the textures on it are super cool, rather manly, and yet the inside is white. So you can see the color of your tea. I love having things white. And so I bought him the same one. And then this is a serving pitcher. It's actually my first one too, and it's my favorite because it's minimalistic. It's small, it fits in my hand good, and it doesn't have that handle coming out to take up more room on my small tea tray. Now, you don't need a tea tray to do this, but you can do it on your desktop, on your counter, your table, but you are going to want some sort of mat, even if it's just a towel, a flat towel, because when I pour, I always tend to spill some. So you want something underneath to catch that. And so the reason I use a Gaiwan, and now, you know, I'm a Christian, so I don't get into all of the stuff that some of the other people do with their tea trays and their ceremonies of pouring all over their trays and feeding their tea pets. And but I have adopted the parts that fit with me, and the science of using the Gaiwan really is true. It definitely makes better tea. And so the science of this is that you want your tea to have as much area to float around and let the water get all around it, so that it can infuse better. And so I often use this, and it's just fine in a mug because you see how big it is. It fills up the whole area of the mug and still allows the tea to get around. But for some reason, these Gaiwans make all the difference in the world. So the principle behind using the Gaiwan is that you use more tea and yet steep for less time, and then you re-steep often. So for me, who I do not like astringent teas, the astringency comes out the longer you brew the tea. So if I'm only brewing my tea for 30 seconds, it's not going to have that astringency I don't like. So there is some science behind this. So I have some tea down in here now. I didn't weigh it or measure it, but I've kind of gotten a sense of how much tea to put in my Gaiwan just from having brewed it. If you have a tea that, see, I also like always looking at my tea leaves. And I always put a little bit on here, but you don't have to do that. But you could, sometimes I'll just put it right on the table, just spread out a few. And I always smell my tea in the dry version and the wet version, and then taste it. Kind of like, you know, people have their thing down when they are tasting wines, and in order to, you know, you swirl it just right and whatever. I have my thing down on how I, you know, taste my teas, and smelling, it's just one of those little things. And if it smells the same dry as it smells wet, as it tastes, then you know it's a good tea. But back to the size of the tea leaves. So some teas are called CTC, that's, you know, like cut, crush. It's not CTC. Maybe it is. Anyway, if your tea leaves are tiny, meaning they've been cut, you don't want to use as much of the tea because there is a smaller, there's more surface area to it. But if you have large leaves, like I have here, or even larger leaves, then you want to use a little bit more of the tea. So that's something you just kind of learn as you play around. So I have my tea in here, and then I'm going to put my infuser in my serving pitcher, and I've got my water this time set to boiling. And this is an important step. So when you fill your Gaiwan, do not fill it. Ooh, I almost overfilled it. Do not overfill it. Do not fill it all the way up to the top, and there's a reason for that. So the Gaiwan, you notice it comes out and has a lip. The reason for that is because you're going to be picking it up from this lip, and as long as you don't overfill it, this is going to stay cool. If you fill it up too much, it's going to be hot and you're not going to be able to dump it. So you see mine's a little overfilled because the water is coming out the edges. So I did put a little bit too much in it. Now I only steep usually for about 30 seconds, and then my 30 seconds is probably up, but I put my finger on top and then my other two fingers on the edges. Now some people do this. I find doing this and just wrapping, see how it makes like a C, just wrapping my hand around the Gaiwan, but you want to move the lid ever so slightly, because the goal is, see now it's coming out here, it's getting a little warm. The goal is to have just a little bit of an area for the tea to come out and the leaves to stay steeped. And then you just pick it up and dump it in the infuser basket. And then I always, a good Gaiwan is going to have a lid that tucks in here, and I always tuck the lid in there. Some people will take the lid and smell it because it smells like the tea. I tend to, sometimes I'll set this down and just pick this up and smell it, but you don't want to leave the lid on because then that kind of like bakes your tea. Continues cooking it, I guess you could say. So it's always handy to tuck it there. And then you can immediately take this out. Sometimes if I get leaves in there, I'll dump them back in my Gaiwan, but I just set it over there. Now the serving pitcher. This is something that they do that I have adapted to something to where their principles. I like the little things. I like the little things that make it feel special, and you can do these little things for yourself. And at first I thought it was kind of stupid, kind of odd, and then once I did it, I was like, hey, I like this. So there is something about serving yourself. You're treating yourself. You're taking care of yourself. I don't know what it is, but that's why then you take this and you pour it into your own cup. And there's something about listening to the sounds of your kettle, listening to the sounds of the Gaiwan making just subtle noises. You want to be as quiet as you can because it's kind of a respectful thing, but that is not a pleasant sound. You don't do that. So, but pouring from here to here, you hear the pouring sounds, just like I love sitting in rivers and listening to waterfalls and trickling water. It's the same principle, because you get to hear that sound when you pour from here to here, and then you get to hear it when you pour from here to here. And but then you have these leaves here. So after you drink this tea, and I did steep mine too long, seriously, I only do like 30 seconds my first time, and that keeps my tea from being too astringent. And then depending on the tea, some teas I can only get like 3 steeps from them. Those are not good quality teas. Other teas, I can literally steep them 12, 15, 20 times. I'm not joking. And I can, out of this many leaves, I can drink all day long. That makes your tea so economical. So economical. I'm making this little snippet to insert into the video because I forgot to say the second steep you should brew for a little longer than 30 seconds. And then the third steep you should brew for a little longer than the second. And you just keep working your way up because the more times you brew it, the longer you have to steep it for. Also, I think maybe 6 to 10 steeps is about average for me for a good tea, but there are some, especially some pu'ers, that I can get way up there on steeps, and your flavor may be a little bit lighter each time, but you can still taste it. I mean, I can still taste it, so I really enjoy it, but there'll become a point where you'll just go, no, not no more. And so the other cool thing is people complain about, and I'm very guilty about this, even with this method. But people complain that they let their tea get cool and then they got to microwave it. And they let their tea get cool and then they got to microwave it. When you work with small amounts like this, your tea is right now hot and you can drink it up. And then, then you make the next batch and it's hot and you make it when you're ready to drink it. And it will, always be hot. And they say microwaving changes the taste of the tea. It's not all that good to do that. But, I microwave mine. And I used to microwave it in the water to heat it up too. It's okay, however you do it. But that's how you use a Gaiwan. And so this part is the hardest part. You back it off just a little bit and you just get a good grip all the way around. And it's going to be hard to do if you fill it too much. It's going to be hard to do, but it's not hard. And once you do it a few times, it gets easier. So don't go, this is stupid, I can't do it, because the first time's hard. Just keep doing it because now it's just like second nature to me. And when I pour it, I will often sometimes spill it still, especially if I fill this too full. You want to hit that sweet spot, like I said, where you can put the lid on and not see any water coming out of it. Then this edge is going to be cool enough for you to pick it up. So that's about it. I guess that's all I need to share. I hope this has helped you. As I said, I love using the Gaiwan. I don't adopt all of the principles of using it, but the science of it, and how it makes such a better brew of tea. I mean, until you taste tea this way, you haven't tasted good tea. Well, you got to buy good tea too. But good tea is more expensive. But when you get this many steeps out of it, it ends up less expensive. And you're using better quality teas. Anyway, I hope that helps. Bye all. Goodbye, son.